Hello, welcome to my presentation on Deconstructing the Concept of Natural by me, Therese Renteria. You know me, you know I can't attend in person, very sorry about that, but here it is, my presentation. So let's get started right away. Now let's start with our contents, obviously. First we're starting with the title slide, which you've already seen, then the present, the contents, then we got a little introduction, then we'll talk about the definition of natural and what it means for something to be natural. Then we'll talk about the definition of homosexuality and the concept of queerness. Then we will discuss whether or not homosexuality is natural, if we can find it in the wild, and if unnatural ideas can be morally correct. Then, as we come to our conclusion, I will end the presentation. Now, let's begin with our introduction. What even is this presentation about? You may be wondering now, what does deconstructing natural mean? So this presentation is about the argument that homosexuality is not morally correct as it is not natural and therefore should not be allowed. That it is morally wrong to be a homosexual because it is not found in nature. And with this presentation, I am trying to deconstruct the idea of what is natural and what is not, and apply to that specific case to determine whether or not it is actually morally correct to be a homosexual or not. Moving on, what makes something natural? Let's begin with that first. What are our standards for something being natural? Because it is quite a difficult term to define. Now, the Oxford languages define nature as the phenomena of the physical world collectively, including plants, animals, the landscape, and other features and products of the earth, as opposed to humans or human creations. Now, what does that mean? Since it is a bit of a complicated definition, basically, it means that natural describes anything on earth, on the physical world, as a collective, as a collection. So everything in the world, including plants, animals, and landscapes, and everything, products and features of the earth that are not affected by humans or not created by humans, that are not directly involved with humans, are something that is natural. So, for example, a cheeseburger is something that the human has invented, so that is not natural. But for example, a carrot is something that nature made, so it is natural. Same with hair colors. It's easy to define with hair colors. So natural hair colors are the ones that naturally occur in people. Black hair, orange hair, blonde hair, brown hair. Those are the natural hair colors. But for example, blue is an unnatural hair color because it does not occur without human interference. That's the gist of the definition of nature. Now, what is homosexuality specifically? So, the definition of homosexuality, according to Oxford Languages, is the quality or characteristic of being sexually or romantically attracted to people of one's own sex. So basically, homosexuality means that whichever gender you have, if you are attracted to a person with the same gender, that is a homosexual romance. So for example, I am a girl. If I was solely attracted to girls, I would be a homosexual. If a man was only attracted to men, he would be a homosexual. Technically, if a non-binary person was only attracted to non-binary people, they would be a homosexual. And then there's little terms specific for the genders involved, so lesbians and gay people, but that is like under the umbrella term of homosexuality. So homosexuality is the main term, and queerness basically just means any kind of romantic or sexual attraction that diverts from the norm. So anything that isn't sexual. So heterosexual is the standard in a heteronormative world. So anything that is not hetero is queer. And then under the umbrella term of queer, there is the homosexuality, and under that there's gay and lesbian. So lots of terms. You only need to know what homosexuality is. I promise I'm gonna make it simple. Now, is homosexuality natural? That is the question. Is it natural? Is it unnatural? Does it occur in areas that humans have not interfered with? So, what are the requirements for homosexuality to be considered natural now? First of all, it must appear in areas that are uninfluenced by humans, which means it must appear in ecosystems where the human has not yet had much of an effect. It must appear without the influence of humans. So if, for example, there have been experiments on an animal that caused the animal to fall in love with a different animal, that's not natural. That is a modified homosexual animal. Now, second of all, it must appear in the physical realm. So, just because you can think of a gay cat doesn't mean that a gay cat is natural. It needs to appear in the physical realm, not just in your thoughts or anything. So the big question is there homosexuality in nature? Are there cases of animals, or plants? I don't know how a plant could be homosexual, so I'm mostly fixating on animals. Is there any proof of animals showing signs of homosexuality in natures that have in ecosystems that have not been influenced too heavily by humans and are not just in our thoughts, so are actual cases of this happening? And the answer is yes. Homosexuality exists in the wild. There is a very famous example called Sven and Magic, which are gay penguins in the New York City Central Park Zoo. And while they live in a zoo, which is an area that has been influenced by humans, they are not the only homosexual penguins in the world, not the only homosexual animals in the world. They are simply the most famous example because of their lovely story. They are gay penguins who fell in love and then adopted an egg that was abandoned, and so they even had their own little child. I forgot what the name of the child was, but it was very sweet. Unfortunately, if I recall correctly, Sven has passed away by now, so Magic is a widower now, but it was very cute while it lasted, and I hope that their love can stand as a beacon of what actually is natural forever. But researchers have found that penguins do show homosexuality even in areas unaffected by humans. Same as many other animals, there are quite a few animals that show homosexuality outside of zoos, outside of cities. So, what I'm saying is, homosexuality is natural, exists in the wild, in the physical world, in areas unaffected by humans. It's natural. Here you can see a picture of Sweat Magic, the cuties, and the child. They're adorable. They're so cute. I mean, this is very natural. Look at them. They're happy. So, now we get to the main point. Can unnatural ideas be morally correct? And as with every ethical discussion, I have to say, it's up to everyone's personal beliefs. That's always the case. You will never be able to find a definitive answer. However, I believe that it is pretty clear that unnatural ideas are definitely able to be morally correct. Since many concepts that do not occur in nature, as we see them, are generally seen as correct, I believe that unnatural ideas are not excluded from being morally correct simply because they do not appear in nature. Some examples include medicine, body modifications, surgery, slavery. There's some people who think slavery is morally correct. Slavery does not occur in nature. Medicine does not occur in nature. Body modifications, tattoos, piercing, that kind of stuff does not occur in nature. Surgeries, appendix surgeries do not exist in nature, and yet we still say, oh, if your appendix is inflamed, you should get it taken out. So And what my point is that just because something is not natural, does not occur in nature, it does not necessarily have to be morally incorrect. There are plenty of examples of cases where the idea is not natural, but we still consider it morally correct as a collective society, which, in my opinion, kind of makes it so that each case, it depends on each case and not on a broad, like a broad decision of whether or not unnatural things can be morally correct or not. You have to evaluate it for each thing. While you can say that, oh, medicine, that's unnatural, but it's morally correct. But slavery, that's unnatural as well, but it's morally incorrect. You have to just kind of evaluate each separately. You cannot just throw them all in the same pot just because they're all either unnatural or natural. It's not a good way of determining your ethics. That's all I'm saying. And so, in conclusion, homosexuality is natural, it occurs in nature, and therefore shouldn't even be thought of whether it is morally incorrect because it's unnatural, since we know now that it is natural. Also, unnatural ideas are generally considered to be possible to be morally correct. Now, that does not mean that every unnatural idea is morally correct. I do not wish for misunderstandings. It just means that they are able to be morally correct. That is very important. Not all unnatural ideas are morally correct, just they have the ability to be morally correct. And also, homosexuality is seen as normal in nature. When animals show traits of homosexuality in nature, they are not excluded from their colony. They are not treated as less than. They are treated just the same as any other animal. So, homophobia appears to be the unnatural concept of the two, which means that the question should much rather not be homophobia, whether or not homophobia is morally correct because of it being unnatural, rather than homosexuality being morally incorrect because of it being unnatural, since one of them is natural and one of them is not, and the natural one is not homophobia. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. I hope I was able to help you form an opinion. Please feel free to ask questions and discuss your stance on this matter, now that you know my thoughts on the topic. I wish to inspire a nice class discussion with this little presentation. And that's it from me. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and bye!